Welcome everyone. Wonderful evening. We've entered a wonderful time. Good to see all of you all. And warm welcome to the Shifa. We're going to have a very good study today, a very different kind of study. Because this Shabbat is very, very specific about a very unique portion in the Torah. We are still in the book of Genesis because we started a new Torah cycle in any case. But if you turn to the book of Genesis, I request you, please open your Bibles wherever you are. And when we open the book of Genesis, we see that the entire book of Genesis, though it is divided into different portions, and the Parashat, the different portions, are so unique in the book of Genesis that when we look at Yitzhak, when we look at Isaac, he bringing the promised son, he being the personality that God promised Abraham, that he would bring be the promise and bring everything into him. But truly, Isaac has got only one Torah portion to his name. So if you look at all the portions in the book of Bereshit, you have the first Torah portion, that's Bereshit, that's about the creation. Then the second Torah portion, that's about the destruction with Noah. So those first two are gone, that's two. Then I have three portions that have got to do with Abraham. Now Abraham, such a big personality, right? Such a big personality, but only three portions. What is it? Lech Lecha, Vayera, and Chaisera. Three portions. After that, the portion that we are in today is portion Toldot. These are the generations of Isaac. Isaac has got only one Torah portion to his name. Basically, one chapter, that's it. And he is a son of promise. And there are 6 chapters given to Yaakov Avinu. What are the 6 chapters? Vayitze, Vayishlach, Vayeshev, Michetz, Vayigash, Vayechi. And Yitzhak, being the promised son, is just given this one Torah portion. Now, what is so packed in this one Torah portion that tells us everything about Yitzhak? So we find a little about Yitzhak in Chai Sarai, but the main theme of the story is about Sarai, right? About the binding of Isaac, and Avram takes him onto the mountain to bind him and to sacrifice him. But the cornerstone of that story is still Abraham and the death of Sarai, so that comes in Chai Sarai. And now we are in Toldot, one Torah portion. And what happens in this Torah portion is about Isaac living in the land, going down to Egypt, going down to Gerar. And the primary initiative of Isaac in this entire thing is to keep digging and digging and digging wells. Wherever he's going, he's digging wells. And he's digging wells. And he's scratching his head and saying, Rami, what is this? Why is he digging wells all the time? Right? There is a very big spiritual understanding to this. If you compare Abraham Avinu's life to Yitzhak's life, what is the difference between the two? Abraham Avinu is centered around Chassidut, is centered around kindness. He's on the right-hand side of the Sfarot, Chesed, right? Yitzhak is on the left-hand side. He's got Din, Netzach, overcoming, victory. But 3 portions that are given. Now, if you're knowing where I'm coming from, what is 3 and what is 7? 3 has got to do with Chokmah, Bina, and Dat, the cognitive processes of a human being. 6 and 1, 7. 1 has got to do with Yitzhak, that in a certain way is the bridge. Edut, the bridge between the cognitive and the emotive. That's the fourth one, and then the sixth that's got to do with Tiferet, Gevurah, Netzach, Hod, right? Yesod, and Malkut, kingdom. And all these three fall into the purview of Yaakov Avinu. Now, if we please open with me to chapter. Before we that, I want to read a portion from the Gospel of John, chapter 4. And we're going to read about the story of Yeshua and this woman from Samaria. Okay, it's a very interesting portion because this has got to do with the well itself and what Yeshua is trying to tell about this well. Please make a note of this. Okay, chapter 4, Gospel of John, chapter 4, and we'll read from verse 3 onwards. He says, and he left Yehuda and departed again unto the Galilee. And he must needs go through Samaria. I mean, you have to go to Samaria, right? To go into the Galilee. You have to pass through, which is modern day West Bank, basically, Shechem and all these places. And then he comes to a city of Samaria, Shomron, basically. Okay. Vayavo le'ir me'ire Shomron ushma sukhar. He mamul kelechet hasadeh asher natati Yaakov livne le Yosef. So apparently in this place in Sechar or Sukhar, what you call it, was this well over there that was given to Yosef or the descendants of Yosef. That's Menashe and Issachar, because Yosef wasn't alive at that point of time. It was given to his descendants, so therefore the portion was given to Yosef, and that well still existed, and people were still drawing from that well. So this is a simile, this is an analogy of drawing from the well. And drawing water is a very big spiritual meaning. How do you draw water? So drawing water is like drawing spiritual depth, spiritual food, spiritual from the Torah. You are dipping yourself and you are immersed in God's life and instructions and his instructions, and you're drawing out to live. That's your life. Remember the book of Proverbs says, right, that find wisdom, study, find wisdom, because that is life, right? That is life. So the simile of drawing water also we find in the book of Exodus, where Moses comes into Midian and he encounters the daughters of Bethuel, right? And he helps them, he removes the stone and he gives them water, and he fights with the other shepherds, and they go and tell the father, this Egyptian came and he drew water out. That's what Moses was. So in one way, Moses drawing water out from the well symbolizes that Moses was able to draw out from the spiritual level to the physical level, draw out water or draw out Torah so other people could drink and live. It was a certain level of existence that people could take that water, drink it, and live. Okay, they could live with it. It's called living waters. Therefore, you find also Abraham roaming the length and breadth of the land and digging wells, and wherever he found water, he would encamp around it and do all that stuff. So we see this. Let's read this portion out. It says, and he came to a city in Shomron. Now Jacob's well was there, and Yeshua, therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the sixth hour. Now, sitting on the well also has a very symbolic meaning. If I look at the book of Exodus, Moses never sat on the well. Moses was there at the well and he helped them, and he helped the daughters of Bethuel, and he contended with the other shepherds, and he drew water out and he gave it to them. Moses, the word ose, to draw, or saha to draw out. That's from where we get the name Moshe or Moses. Yeshua was sitting on this well. And this is a big meaning because he is above. He is the master of it. He's the commander of it. Everything is below him. He's sitting on it. He's sitting on this well. Right? So therefore, even the Torah that Moses was able to draw out from, Yeshua is the master of it. And he sits on this well. And it was about the 6th hour, around 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And there comes a woman of Shimron to draw water. And Jesus said unto her, give me to drink. Now, Yeshua, for all purposes, Yeshua was a Jewish man of his day. He looked Jewish. He wore Jewish clothes. He was Jewish. He lived a Jewish lifestyle completely, right? And this lady was surprised, absolutely surprised that he would even speak to her, talk to her, let alone, ask her for a drink of water. And for his disciples were gone away and the city to buy some food for themselves because they were famished out of the journey. Then said the woman of Shimron unto him, how is it that you, being a Yehudi, ask drink of me, which am a woman of Shimron? For the Yehudi have no dealings with the Shomronians. You can take it in both ways. How is it that you, being a Yehudi, is asking me for a physical drink of water? Because y'all reject us, y'all look down upon us, y'all don't consider us as part of Israel or the people of God or whatever issues they had at that point of time. Or it could also mean that you, being a Yehudi, do not know how to draw divine inspiration or word, that you're asking a Samaritan, a Shomronian for that. So there are two levels of looking at text, okay? And we are trying to touch both levels of it. So this is why Yeshua talks to her on the second level. He's not talking to her on a physical level, okay? And Yeshua answered and said unto her, if you knew the gift of God and what it is and who it is that said unto thee, give me to drink, thou wouldest have asked of him, and he would give thee living water. So it's amazing. If I look at this in the Pashat level, if I look at this in the literal level and say, okay, Yeshua is asking a Samaritan for water, and she's saying, she's saying, you're a Jew, you have nothing to do with us. Why do you all hate us? And you're going to actually take water from my hand? Okay. That's the common man is going to think that way. But that's not what's happening. Okay. We have to look at a spiritual level here. So she is saying something spiritual, which is why Yeshua is answering her in a spiritual level also. Saying, if you knew who asked you for water, and if you knew about the gift of God, he would have given you living waters. Then she says, the woman said unto him, saying, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep, from whence hast thou the living water? Who are you, and how are you going to get this living water? Now, you can look down a well and say, there's water there. But you don't look down a well and say, this is living water, right? What do you mean living water? There's a well and there is water. Either the water is drinkable, is potable, or it's impotable. You don't look down the well and say, this is living water. What is this about? So, from whence then can you give me this living water? What are you talking about? She's telling Yeshua. Art you greater than our father Yaakov, which gave us the well and drank thereof himself and his children and his cattle? Are you greater than our father Yaakov, who dug this well, gave us this well, and and who also, not only him, but also his children drank from and are still drinking from. Are you greater than Yaakov? And Yeshua answered and said unto her, whoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. Whoever drinks of this water shall thirst again. Why? Because he's looking down at the well and saying, this is not living water. I will give you living water, not this. This will quench my thirst. This will quench your thirst. This is enough to take home and to have your daily ablutions and needs with. But this is not living water. I am talking about the living water. But whoever drink of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. Then the woman said unto him, so give me this water. I thirst, that I thirst not, neither come hither to you to draw. It's vague, absolutely vague. She says, if you give me this living water and I don't thirst again, I will never come to this well to draw water from. What do you mean? You don't need physical water to drink? You're a human being. We all human beings. We need water to drink, to hydrate ourselves. What is she talking about? What is Yeshua talking about? What is the level of conversation that's happening out here? You have to understand the culture of that area. The culture of that area is basically very, very arid. Today, the land of Israel is not so arid, except for the Negev, which also is completely being changed right now. If you go to the south, if you go to the Negev, that area is completely changed. You'll find plantations and plantations of water management that is transforming the Negev and the Judean hills and the desert into complete green plantations of them. So in those days, it was, if you had a well, it was life and you had to protect it. You would fight wars over one well. You would fight wars over one well. Okay. So she's saying, if you give me this water, I will not need to come here and drink from this water again. Man, unbelievable. Then Yeshua said unto her, go call your husband and come forth. Yeshua knows who she is and everything, but she's very truthful and honest. And in fact, she says, I'm not married. And Yeshua said, you said right, and you've been married so many times, and the one you're living with right now is not your husband. All this happens, and she's amazed. And then the woman said unto him, sir, I perceive that you are a Navi, you are a prophet, because you have a very prophetic gift, looking deep into my life and telling me things. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. And Yeshua said unto her, woman, believe me, the hour comes when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem shall worship the Father. Ye worship you know not what. We know what we worship, for Yeshuati, salvation is of the Yahudi. Salvation is from the Jew, of the Jew, for the Jew, and everything about a Jew. Many people have asked me, like, why did Yeshua say something like this? We have to understand what he means by Yahudi in the first place. But the hour comes, and now is, when the true worshippers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeketh such to worship him. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. The woman said unto him, I know that the Mashiach is going to come, which is called the Anointed One, Christ. When he is come, he will tell us of all things. And then Yeshua said unto her, I that speak unto thee am he. I think this is the only place where Yeshua actually claims the title of being Mashiach. In every other place, he's quiet, he doesn't reply back, he turns his face and walks away. Whatever they ask him of him, he's very quiet and silent. But in this place, he says, I am He. I'm the Messiah. Now, Mashiach is simply means anointed one, right? Uh, you can, the concept of anointed means that you're anointed to do a specific task. It's like a mandate, it's like a power of attorney, it's like an empowerment that's given to a person to go and do something specific. And that's basically the idea of Mashiach. So God can give this mandate and this anointing to anyone to go and do a certain role, whether it's a role of an evangelist, role of an apostle, role of a teacher, role of a pastor, whatever. That is the mandate that's given to you, and that's that anointing that you carry to accomplish that role. Yeshua says, I'm the Mashiach. But this Mashiach is come to do something far more intrinsic in changing the inner man, the pinimiyut, not the chiziniyut, the outer man. And the world never understood it at that point of time. So we see out here that the oral Torah, the Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral Torah talks about a Mashiach and talks about the Mashiach that is going to draw water from this well, the living waters from this well. That is why in Hoshana Rabbah, on the last day of Sukkot, you have the water libation that represents water, living waters flowing from the throne of God, when the high priest would take the golden jar of water and pour it down the steps of the Beit HaMikdash, and it would be a joyous, occasion, because that's Hoshana Rabbah on the last day of Sukkot. Okay, now coming back to the book of Genesis and coming back to Toldot, open with me to chapter 26. And we're going to read from chapter 26. Chapter 26, it says, Vayehi ra'av be'aretz milbad hara'av harishon asher haya be'ene Abraham vayalech Yitzhak et Avi Melech Philistim Gerara. So there was a famine in the land, and aside from the previous famine that had occurred in the days of Abraham, and Isaac went to Avimelech, king of the Philistines in Gerar. So he goes down to the Philistines, and remember, even Abraham had a relationship with Avimelech, right? Remember the last time's Torah portion that Avram found this well, and he contends with Avimelech, and he fights for the right. He says, I have found this well. And he claims that well, and he makes an agreement with Avimelech, and he offers 7 lambs for that well, and he makes it of his own. And then they have an agreement, and they said, okay. Now what does Avram do? He builds an orchard there, right? Remember that? And he builds an orchard. What is Avram trying to do? He's trying to recreate Gan Eden, because that's his desire to rectify the world. So now he goes down to the Philistine, which is the Palestinians basically. Once again, not the Palestinians of today, okay? Because those are not Palestinians. Anyway. Vayara elav Adonai vayomer el tered mitzrayma shechen be'aretz asher omer alecha. And the Lord had appeared to him and said, do not go down into Egypt, but stay in the land which I point out to you. Now you have to ask yourself, why Avram went to Egypt? Okay, Yaakov went to Egypt, but why didn't God allow Isaac to go down to Egypt? The answer is because Isaac is bound with the land. Isaac is already bound with the land because he was already taken up as a korban. Being taken up as a korban and being taken up to slaughter and sacrifice, the land was ingrained, it was tied to his soul. He could not have left the land. That is why Abraham also tells his servant Eliezer for Damascus, says, go and get a wife for my son Yitzhak, but make sure that Isaac never leaves the land. Never take Isaac out of the land. You will go and bring someone for him, and he will remain in the land. So Isaac, being a korban, being already offered as a sacrifice, that sacrifice was ingrained with the land. His soul is tied to that land. He cannot leave the land. That's why even God tells him, do not leave the land. Do not go down to Egypt. Stay in the land which I point out to you. Reside in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. And he repeats the blessings that he gave Abraham, saying, I will assign all these lands to you and to your children, to your heirs, fulfilling the oath that I swore to your father Abraham. I will make your heirs as numerous as the stars of heaven, and assign to your heirs all these lands, so that all the nations of the earth shall bless themselves by your heirs. This is Avram's blessing. This is the blessing that he gave Avram, that all the nations of the earth will nivrechu, graft, bless themselves through you. Inasmuch as Abraham obeyed me and kept my commandments, mishmarti mitzvotai chukotai with Torah. All three. He says, listen, Echev asher shma Avraham becholi vaishmor mishomarti. He kept mitzvotai, my commandments, chukotai, my statutes, ve torotai, and my instructions. Three things. Now, many of us don't realize the difference between all of this because we've not educated ourselves in all of this. The Torah is one part of it. The Torah is the instructions, which is Torah. Then you have the Mishpat, which are the pronouncements or the decrees or the judgments. And then you have the Chokot, which are the statutes. Three different things. Okay. The law draws itself from all these three things. Just for your information. Okay. So, Vayashev Yitzhak be Gerar. And Isaac stayed in Gerar with the Philistine. Vayishalu anshe hamachom leishto vayomer achtai hi yira lemor. And when the local leaders, the Philistines, asked him about his wife, and you know all that happened with his wife and Rivka and all the stuff, you know? And Abimelech said, you know, why have you done this? You realize this is the same thing that Avram done. Everything's repeating, as father to the son, everything's repeating. Then Abimelech charged all the people saying, do not touch this man or his wife, or whoever does it shall be put to death. And Isaac, verse 12 is very interesting. It says, Vayi zara Yitzchak be'aretz hahi vayi matza be'shana vahi mea se'arim vayi barkehu Adonai. And Isaac sowed in that land, and he reaped 100-fold the same year. And the Lord had blessed him. The Lord had blessed him. Vayigdal ha'ish vayalech haloch ve'gadal ad ki gadal meut. And the man grew. Isaac grew richer and richer until he was extremely wealthy. Extremely wealthy. Whatever he put his hand to prospered. Remember, he was the korban of the land, and the land was tied to him, so the land is responding to Yitzhak, like the land is supposed to respond to every Jewish person who's in the land. If you had to go 40, 50 years ago when Israel was formed, or maybe even before that, it was a barren land. Many personalities came and they seen the land and said, what is this? Mark Twain said, what is this all about? Einstein came, he was, what is this? And they said, man, no one can live here. But today, you won't see what Israel is. The agriculture is amazing, absolutely amazing. So the land responds and has responded to Yitzhak. And the man grew richer and richer until he was very wealthy. He acquired flocks and herds and large household, so that the Philistines envied him. וכל הבארות אשר חפרו עבדי אביו בימי אברהם אביו, סתמום Philistine וימלאום עפר. And the Philistines stopped up all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of his father Abraham, filling them with earth. Now I want to tell you something about this. This is the difference between Abraham and Yitzhak. Let's look at Abraham now, and then we'll compare to Yitzhak. It says, and the Philistines blocked, earthed, dumped water, all the thing back into the wells that which Abraham had dug when he was on this earth. What's happening? So the difference between Abraham and Yitzhak is this. Abraham was a person who was very dynamic. Abraham was full of what you would call haknasat orkin, hospitality. And in fact, the tent of Abraham was like a five-star hotel. And he would sit at the beginning of the tent from morning to night because he had everybody working. Obviously, he was working too. And he would wait and he would pitch his tent spat in between the caravan routes because he was into hospitality. He was a five-star hotel of the desert in his day. He had his tents, he had his F&B department, he had the spiritual department, he had everything ready. When a caravan passed, he would run out to them. My lords, he says, come, you're weary from your journey, come sit, I'll give you water, wash your hands, wash your feet, drink, eat, sleep, be refreshed, go. They would stop. And they would stop. And when they were refreshed, Abraham would be this immaculate guest to them, and then he would talk to them about the one God and preach the one God. He would preach the one God to them. You know, there's so much to learn from Abraham. And wherever Abraham went, obviously he needed water. So he would dig a well, and if he found the presence of God over there, he would build an altar, and he would say, okay, let's recreate Gan Eden all over again. And Abraham was going from place to place, up and down the breadth of the land, trying to recreate Eden all over again, say, bring the presence of God, bring God back to this land, and we want to rectify the world. But, you know, Abraham is like every preacher that's ever existed till today. You and me can be a person like Abraham who's preaching to thousands of people. And yet, no one is really changed. No one is really changed. You can sit back 15 years and say, I've been in ministry for 15 years and I've preached and I've gone for meetings and I've done, you know, conventions and we've prayed over people and we've brought people to the Lord and this and that and stuff. But you look back and if you try to trace every single person, the success rate is so low, actually very low. Even till today, you call 100 people and you have a convention, have a big meeting, and you serve them lunch, and you have a wonderful one-day seminar, prayer and fasting. You ask, for that moment, they are infused with the word and they are on fire and yes, Lord, and praying. 3 days after that, they are just not the same. They're just not the same. And when that personality dies and goes, no one even remembers. You know, you can go to a Christian bookstore and pick up a book and read, Smith Wigglesworth. Okay, who's this guy? I never heard of him. Really? When did he live? 100 years ago. Okay, what is he written? I don't know. Don't know. Okay, pick up books from Salvation Army. Who remembers these people anymore? We have taken those wells and we've dumped it, we've put earth into it and we've covered it up. When Abraham left this world, all the people he had agreements with, all that he had preached to, all he had serviced in hospitality, everyone who was, in fact, he sent everyone away. He disbanded the entire encampment. He gave them gifts and he said, go. And they all went back, probably back to their own lives, whether they remained in the faith, not remained in the faith. No one knows anything. And here the Bible says, and the Philistines stopped up all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of his father Avram, filling them with earth. It's over. And the truth is, when I was thinking about this, and I was saying, Lord, what does this actually mean? God said, you can counsel somebody, you can teach somebody, you can preach, you can do all these things, but until the person doesn't decide within himself that I want to change, that person will not change. Even God's Spirit will encounter that resistance from that person, and the breaking will happen slowly. The breaking will happen like a hammer, chipping and chipping and chipping away. You see, God's Spirit can just go one whack and he's over, finished. But God doesn't do that. He chips away slowly, chips away till the person completely breaks down. But the person has to decide finally and say, yes, I know. Now I know. Why this, why that? Maybe I'm doing everything wrong. And he has to decide. It's a person. So you can speak and you can preach and talk and counsel and guide and do all these things. But it's the people finally who have to take this decision saying, I want to change, man. It's my life. I take responsibility for it and I want to change. Otherwise, we're filling these wells with earth, we're covering them up. And this is very, very important. So, friends, wherever you go and whoever you speak to, don't think for a second that you have changed that person's life. You have done nothing. You have only put a seed out there. God will water it. God will make it grow. And God will break all the unwanted things in that person for that person to decide, yes, I need God in my life now. Okay, so it's a very important point. And I was thinking, Lord, this is so true. And the Philistines stopped up all the wells which the father's servants had dug in it, because they broke all. Oh, Abraham is gone. The man of God is gone. Now we are free to do whatever we want. Unbelievable. And Abimelech said to Isaac, go away from us, for you have become far too big with us. We knew Abraham and we knew how big Abraham was, but you, Isaac, you are different. We understood Abraham and we could live with Abraham, but you are different. Vayomer Abimelech el Yitzhak, lech me imanu ki azmata mimenu meod. You have become far greater than what we could have imagined. Abraham was wealthy and God had blessed him, but you're doing something very, very different. And we don't understand it. Leave us. What was he doing different? So Isaac departed from there and encamped in the Wadi of Gerar, where he settled. Vailek Misham Yitzhak Vaichan Nachal Gerar, into the rivulets of Gerar, or encampments of Gerar. Vaishev in Sham. Vayashov Yitzhak Vayachafor et Be'erot. And Isaac redug the wells which had been dug during the days of his father Abraham. So now Isaac comes and he's looking at his father's wells, all packed up, as if they don't exist anymore. Okay? And he's saying, no, I'm going to redig these wells of the kindness of my father Abraham. And he starts digging these wells of his father Abraham, in which the Philistines had stopped up after the Abraham's death, and he gave them the same names that his father had given them. So wherever Abraham, remember those other wells that wherever Abraham dug, he dug up all those wells. But when Isaac's servants digging in the wadi found there a well of spring of water. So he reopened all those wells, and in the wadi where he settled, he found there a spring of water. It's very interesting. And the herdsmen, the cattle ranchers, and the shepherds of the Philistine, the herdsmen of Gerar, quarreled with Isaac's herdmen, saying, "This water is ours." And he called that well Esek because they contended with him. Esek basically in Hebrew means extortion. Contention or extortion, basically extortion. And he named that Esek. Anyway, moved on, and then they dug another well. And they disputed the other well too. So he called it Sitna. Sitna, which is also kind of hatred, unwanted hatred, contention, whatever. These two wells. He moved from there after this contention and dug yet another well, and they did not quarrel over it. So he called that Rehoboth, saying, "Now at last the Lord has granted us." Rehoboth means open, expansive place to increase in the land. Vayal Misham Be'er Shava. From there he went up to Beersheba. Now what was he doing digging these wells? He was digging these wells because you need water for agriculture. And the more agriculture you can do, the more wealthy you get. Abraham was not big into agriculture. Abraham was not big into agriculture. Abraham was big into hospitality. So Abraham was running a 5-star resort. And he was bringing souls in, right? With kindness and with orkat haknasat orkim and with hospitality and this thing, to bring souls in. And that was on the spur of the moment. And when Abraham was gone, it was all over, finished. But Yitzhak was doing something very different. Yitzhak was an agrarian. He took the agrarian mode. He took charge of that land. So although Yitzhak has just got one portion to his name, but this one portion tells us so much more about Yitzhak. So wherever he went, he redug the wells of Abraham, and all those wells, he started agriculture. He put people there, they were growing stuff, and he slowly expanding in the land. Today, the West Bank says the Israelis are expanding their expansion and they're expanding the West Bank and they're infiltrating into the West Bank. What do you think Isaac was doing? Slowly, one well at a time, one more agricultural pad, another well, another agricultural output. Slowly, he was taking over the land. And the people were getting infuriated, right? Settlements. Today, if you look, West Bank settlements, Israelis doing West Bank settlements. Oh man, it's the same thing all over again, friends. Biblical time is so cyclical. What happens will happen again. What happens to the fathers will happen to the sons. Keep repeating. And he went up to Beersheba there. That night the Lord appeared to him and said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Fear not, I am with you, and I will bless you and increase your offspring for the sake of my servant Abraham." So he built an altar there and invoked the Lord by name, saying, Isaac pitched his tent there, and his servant started digging a well. And then Abimelech came to him from Gerar with Ahuzat, his counselor, and Phicol, chief of his troops. And Isaac said to them, "Why have you come to me, seeing that you've been hostile to me and you have driven me away from you? You've thrown me out from well number 1, well number 2, well number 3. Now you've come here also to this place." And they said, "We now see plainly that the Lord has been with you. And we thought, let there be a sworn treaty between our two parties, between you and us. Let us make a pact with you." So now they come to the level where they understand that all the blessing that was given to Avram has come to his son Yitzhak, right? And that you will do us no harm, just as we have not done harm to you, but have always dealt kindly with you and sent you away in peace. From now on, be you blessed of the Lord. Then he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. Early in the morning, they exchanged the oaths. Isaac bade them farewell, and they departed from him in peace. That same day, Isaac's servants came and told him about the well they dug and said to him, "We have found water. We have found water." And he named it Sheba. Therefore, the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. Now, we also encounter Beersheba during Abraham's time. So it's referred to Beersheba because it's post-written, right? Because it's post-written. So the one who actually named it Sheva is Yitzhak, Isaac. Beir is well. Beir is well, Sheva, well of oaths. Sheva is oath. Then it goes on to talk about Esau from here. Okay, and Isaac, with this one Torah portion, gives us a glimpse of who Israel actually is. That he, being the, now you understand the reason why this Korban of Isaac had to take place. Because he was bound with the land. Then we read about the birth of his twin sons, Yitzhak and Yaakov and Esau, right? Why is he named Yaakov? And when they are born, Esau comes out first, red and hairy and ruddy, and Yaakov comes holding his heel. So basically, Yaakov would not have been born if he never held his heel. He would have remained in the womb and no idea what would have happened. But truly in the womb, Esau was kicking him and smashing his skull. So he tried to protect himself by holding that leg, even in the womb. This is exactly what's happening. But my question is, where else have you come across hand to heel in the Bible? Where else have you come across hand to heel in the Bible? I'll tell you the truth. You will read about the hand and the heel in the Bible in a place that you will not expect. It's in the binding of Isaac. So, if you all know how an animal is bound for slaughter, you will understand this. The animal is not bound with the four legs in the front and with the back legs in the back. So the animal can still kick and create a problem. The animal is bound with the hand, the front leg, to the back leg on each side. So left hand with the left leg, right hand with the right leg. That's the hand to the leg. And Isaac was bound that way. When his dear father took him, put him on that altar and said, "Son, close your eyes. Now I got to do what I have to do." And when these two are born hand to Echev, to heel and to hand, Isaac knew and he understood something very important. He understood then why he's bound to the land. And these two children are the product of that sacrifice, that korbanot. It's very interesting. When these two brothers are fighting, they'll tell you one more connection to all of this also. When these two brothers are fighting, okay, what does Rivka tell Yaakov to do? She overhears Isaac saying, "Esau, my son, go into the field, find game for me, and come make a meal that I like so that I may bless you." And Rivka hears it. She calls Yaakov, come here, Yaakov. Do one thing, go and find 2 kids of the goats. Bring it and prepare. And I'm going to prepare the meal that he likes and give it to you. And you're going to enact and become Esau and go and get the blessings. This is really amazing that you can steal someone's blessings this way. So this is what happens. But where you find 2 goats also, the story of 2 goats. The story of 2 goats is also connected to Yom Kippur, friends. That one goat is to La Adonai, the other goat is to Le Azazel. So if La Adonai is Yaakov, who is Esav, La Azazel, Esav, I've told you all so many times, Esav is just one yod short away from Yeshua. That is the gematria. The consonants on the gematria is Esav, Yeshua. That within Esav, you have Yeshua who is functioning because he has to rectify Esav first. He's backbenching Yaakov. He said, you sit there. I need to deal with Esav and I have to rectify Esav, which is why Esav is like the goat that's taken to Azazel and destroyed. That is why Yeshua was taken outside the city gates and crucified, friends. He was taken and given as that offering to Azazel. But he overcame and he resurrected and he broke the yoke of Azazel and he resurrected. He broke the power of death. This is a tremendous understanding to all of this. All these things are connected to Isaac because Isaac was korbanot in the land and he was opening up the wells of his father of kindness, and now he was doing his own thing and he was reclaiming the land which Avram didn't do, taking the land for himself, and he produced these 2 children that are the ones that are going to be the progenitors of the children of God in the future. Now, if Yaakov became the Jewish people, because Yaakov had 12 children and they become the Jewish nation, what about Esau? Technically, Esau is also Jewish because his father is Yitzhak. So there's no difference between Esau and Yaakov. Absolutely no difference. You look at Esau today. Esau reads the same Bible as Yaakov. But the outside of Esau does not match up with the inside of Esau. Inside of Esau is Yeshua. That's why Yeshua is with Esau today, is with Christians. He's not with the Jewish people. And Yeshua has to rectify the world. That's Esau. He has to rectify the world first. And he's bringing in the world and rectifying. He's raising people, prophets, and he's doing all these amazing things in this world today. But once that time is ready, he will bring everything back. Then what will happen is then the wells of Isaac in the land will be completely reopened, that which was blocked today. Today also, those wells are really, really blocked, my friends. Those wells are really blocked today. They've been covered up. And those need to be opened again. Completely opened again. So when we see and we read all these things, we understand that what happened to the fathers also is tremendously involved even till today. So if I have to look on a timeline, the age that we're living in, we're living in the age of Yitzhak, of Isaac negotiating to live in the land and expanding the land with the settlements and fighting for their rights and having wars in the north and wars south. This is Isaac. And these 2 wells, Esek and Sitna, are like the first temple and the second temple. Are you getting this? The first temple destruction, second temple destruction. But this exile, 2000-year exile is the longest exile. And until the Jewish people don't come back into the land and start opening up those wells of their fathers and forefathers and start drinking those waters, okay, they are not going to be able to be successful and to keep that land for themselves on one condition only. That is why we read in John 4, Yeshua says, if you knew who you're talking to, by the gift of God, I will be able to give you living water. So they may be in the land, but they're still fighting like Isaac. They're still striving like Avram to recreate Gan Eden. It's not going to work out that well. They're still trying to recreate what Isaac is doing. They're going to have contention and sitna all over again. It's only when the Mashiach comes to them, Mashiach has come to them, that he will sit on this well of Yaakov and say, we have to give you living water. Friends, we need to do our part. We need to pray tremendously for the Jewish nation that they accept their Messiah. They are brothers. We have to love them without any condition, even if it means to the destruction of us. We have to love them. We have to bring them into the inheritance, friends. Okay, so I just wanted to share this with you all, that although only one portion is given to Yaakov, just Parashat Toldot, one portion, but it is so important for us to understand the time that we're living in and why those wells need to be reopened, because it's the lifeblood of the Jewish people. And we have to give Isaac that chance. Okay. Being Esau, we have to give Yaakov the chance to reclaim and come into the morashe, into the inheritance, friends. Okay. And I just leave you all with this thought that we have a part to play in all of this, and so does the Jewish people have. Both of us have our own parts to play. May we really understand this, pray, and do something about it, friends. Okay, so I'll leave you all with this for today, and I hope you all have understood a couple of things from the Old and the New Testament, and what Yeshua was trying to do in the New Testament in perspective of the Old. And I hope you all have been blessed. I'll see you all tomorrow morning for Shakarat Praise at 7 o'clock. Please do join. We invite everybody, right? And also on Wednesday, we have 8 o'clock, we have New Testament studies. Please come, invite other people. It's open. It's open for everybody, friends. Friday and Wednesday. Okay. So God bless. I'm going to put the recording off and talk.